She was left out of the family picture until Grandma's secret diary told the real story. The portrait was 8 feet wide and impossible to miss. 26-year-old Mia Paxton stood frozen in the marble foyer of the Tate family estate, champagne glass trembling in her hand, staring at the one piece of evidence she could no longer pretend to ignore. The sterling family portrait, commissioned 20 years ago by her grandfather, Senator Jonathan Tate. Professionally photographed, museum-quality frame, prominently displayed where every guest entering the mansion would see it. Her parents, perfectly posed. Her older brother William, smiling. Her younger sister Charlotte, angelic at 6 years old. Her grandfather and grandmother, regal and proud. Every single member of the Tate family, except her. Devastating, isn't it? A voice said behind her. Being erased from your own family. Mia spun around. Her Aunt Diane stood there, already drunk from the wake, her eyes red from crying over the senator's funeral that morning. I was sick that day, Mia heard herself say, repeating the excuse she'd been told her entire life. Mom said I had the flu. Is that what Catherine told you? Diane laughed bitterly. Of course it is. Because the truth would ruin the perfect illusion. Mia's heart was hammering. What truth? Diane looked at the portrait, then back at Mia. You weren't sick, sweetheart. You were excluded. Deliberately. She leaned in close enough that Mia could smell the bourbon. And if you want to know why, go to the attic. Find your Grandma Grace's things. She left you something, a diary. Read it before your mother has a chance to burn it. Then Diane walked away, leaving Mia standing in front of the family she'd never quite belonged to. Hey everyone! Welcome to a story about secrets, lies, and the one piece of truth that changes everything. I'm so thrilled you're here with me. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I love hearing from you all around the world. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button right now because this story is going to take you on a journey you won't forget. We're talking family secrets, hidden diaries, and a truth that's been buried for 26 years. You're going to want to see how this unfolds. Now let's get back to Mia, because what she finds in that attic is going to destroy everything she thought she knew about herself. The wake continued below. 200 people in expensive black, murmuring condolences and trading political gossip about Senator Jonathan Tate's 40-year career. Mia's mother, Catherine, moved through the crowd like a grieving ice queen, perfectly composed, accepting sympathy with practiced grace. Mia had watched her mother perform this role her entire life. The perfect senator's daughter. The perfect political wife. The woman who never had a hair out of place or an emotion she couldn't control. And the woman who had somehow forgotten to include her middle child in the family portrait. Mia abandoned her champagne glass on a side table and headed for the back stairs. The attic was exactly as she remembered from childhood, dusty, hot, filled with the accumulated debris of 4 generations of Tate family history. Campaign signs from her grandfather's first run for office. Her grandmother's vintage clothing. Boxes of photographs and documents that no one had looked at in decades. And in the far corner, covered with a sheet, her grandmother's cedar chest. Grandma Grace had died 6 months ago. Mia had been devastated. Grace was the only member of the family who'd ever made her feel truly seen, truly loved. The old woman had always called Mia my special girl and whispered that she was more important than they know. Mia had thought it was just grandmother favoritism. Now, with Diane's words echoing in her head, she wondered if it was something else entirely. She opened the cedar chest with shaking hands. Inside, vintage dresses, costume jewelry, a silk scarf that still smelled faintly of Grace's perfume. And beneath it all, wrapped in linen, a small leather-bound book. The diary. Mia pulled it out, her heart racing. The leather was soft with age, the pages yellowed. Her grandmother's elegant handwriting filled every page, entries dating back 30 years. She flipped to the date of the family portrait, 20 years ago, almost to the day. The entry made her blood run cold. October 15th * today was the portrait sitting. Catherine insisted on it, something about legacy and political image now that Jonathan is running for his third term. The photographer came to the house, set up in the garden, that I watched them arrange everyone. William and Charlotte, scrubbed and perfect. Catherine in her Chanel suit. My son Thomas looking uncomfortable in his tie, as always, and then Catherine sent Mia away. **, she's not feeling well, Catherine told the photographer. Just the immediate family today. But Mia wasn't sick. I'd seen her that morning, perfectly healthy, playing in her room. She's 6 years old, and she wanted to be in the picture with her brother and sister. Catherine sent her to her room anyway. And when Mia started to cry, Catherine closed the door and told the nanny to keep her upstairs. I should have said something. I should have demanded they include her. But Jonathan gave me that look, the one that says, "Don't make a scene." And I stayed quiet like I always do, because I know the truth. The truth Catherine has made very clear to me over the years. **, Mia isn't Jonathan's biological granddaughter. She's not Thomas's biological daughter, though my son doesn't know it and never can. Catherine had an affair before Mia was born. She got pregnant, and rather than face the scandal, she passed the child off as Thomas's. Only Jonathan and I know. Catherine confessed it to us when Mia was 6 months old, after the paternity became medically relevant during a health scare. She begged us to keep the secret, said she'd made a mistake, that she loved Thomas, that revealing the truth would destroy the family. **, Jonathan agreed. Of course he did. The scandal would have ended his political career. **, but the cost has been Mia. My beautiful, innocent granddaughter who doesn't understand why she's always treated differently. Why her mother is cold to her. Why she's excluded from family events and photographs. Catherine excludes her because every time she looks at Mia, she sees her own shame. And I let it happen. I let them erase that child from the family portrait today, and I will never forgive myself. Mia's hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the diary. Not her father's daughter. Not her grandfather's granddaughter. The product of an affair her mother had hidden for 26 years. Everything made sense now. The coldness, the distance, the feeling of never quite belonging. She wasn't imagining it. She was being punished for a sin she didn't commit, for simply existing as evidence of her mother's secret. Tears blurred her vision, but she kept reading, flipping through entries. Grandma Grace had documented everything. The subtle cruelties. The exclusions. The family events Mia was too young or too busy to attend. The way Catherine showered attention on William and Charlotte while treating Mia like an inconvenient houseguest. And then, near the end of the diary, an entry from 2 years ago. I'm dying. The doctors confirmed it today. Pancreatic cancer, too advanced to treat. I have perhaps 6 months. I need to tell Mia the truth. She deserves to know why she's been treated this way. She deserves to know about her real father. His name was James Shepherd. He was Thomas's best friend from college, a brilliant architect from a working-class family. Catherine met him at a charity function, and they had a brief affair. When she got pregnant, she panicked and ended things. James never knew about Mia. I hired a private investigator last year. James died 5 years ago, but he has family. A sister named Rebecca Shepherd who runs an architecture firm in Boston. She has 2 daughters. Mia's half-sisters, I've set up a trust. $2 million, kept separate from the Tate estate, untouchable by Catherine or Jonathan. It goes to Mia when she turns 27, but only if she knows the truth. Only if she chooses to claim it. The paperwork is with my attorney, Martin Cross. The password to access it is Special Girl, what I always called her. I'm sorry I wasn't braver when it mattered. I'm sorry I let them erase you, my darling Mia. But I'm giving you a choice now. Stay with the family that never wanted you, or claim your real inheritance and find the family you were always meant to have. Choose yourself, my special girl. Choose the truth. The diary fell from Mia's hands. $2 million. A real father who'd never known she existed. Half-sisters in Boston. A family that might actually want her. And downstairs, a mother who'd lied for 26 years and a family who'd been complicit in erasing her from their perfect portrait. Footsteps on the attic stairs made Mia freeze. Her mother's voice, sharp and cold. Mia? Are you up here? Mia grabbed the diary, shoved it into her bag, and stood just as Catherine appeared in the doorway. Her mother looked flawless as always. Black Armani dress, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place despite burying her father that morning. Her eyes went immediately to the open cedar chest, to the disturbed contents. What are you doing up here? Catherine's voice was controlled, but Mia could hear the edge of panic underneath. Looking through Grandma's things, Mia said, surprised by how steady her own voice sounded. Missing her. Catherine's eyes narrowed. Did you find anything interesting? The question hung between them, loaded with 26 years of secrets. Mia could play it safe. Pretend she'd found nothing. Let the lie continue. Or she could blow up her entire life with 3 words. Just old dresses, she lied. Catherine's shoulders relaxed minutely. Good. Because your grandmother kept a lot of sentimental items that wouldn't be appropriate to share. Private family matters. Her smile was thin, threatening. I'll be clearing out the attic next week. No need for you to go through it. Translation. Stay away from the truth or else. Of course, Mother, Mia said. Catherine turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mia? I've been meaning to talk to you about the estate. Your grandfather left specific bequests in his will. William gets the majority stake in the foundation. Charlotte gets the summer house in Maine. You'll receive a small trust, $50,000. Enough to be comfortable. $50,000. While her siblings inherited millions. That's very generous, Mia said, each word tasting like ash. Yes, well, your grandfather wanted to be fair to everyone. Catherine's smile was sharp. Even if not everyone is blood. The word hit like a slap. She knows, Mia realized. She knows I found the diary. Catherine descended the stairs, her heels clicking on the wood like a countdown. Mia waited until the sound faded, then pulled out her phone. She Googled Martin Cross, attorney, Boston. Found him. Estate law specialist. She called the office, even though it was 7 p.m. Left a message. My name is Mia Paxton. My grandmother was Grace Tate. I believe she left something with you for me. The password is Special Girl. Please call me back as soon as possible. Then she looked down at the diary in her bag, at the family portrait she could see through the attic window, the one that had excluded her, erased her, pretended she didn't exist. And she made a choice. She was done being erased. The truth is out. The diary revealed everything. And Mia just took the first step toward claiming her real inheritance. But what happens when her mother realizes what she knows? Drop a comment and tell me. Would you confront Catherine, or would you just disappear and start over? I'm reading every single one. And if you're already hooked, if you need to know what happens when Mia meets her real family, hit that subscribe button right now. Mia didn't sleep that night. She lay in her childhood bedroom, the smallest one in the East Wing, the one that had always been temporary, even though she'd lived in it for 18 years and read every page of her grandmother's diary by lamplight. The entries painted a devastating picture, not just of Catherine's affair and the covered-up paternity, but of a 26-year campaign of subtle emotional abuse designed to keep Mia small, quiet, and unaware of her worth. Mia made honor roll again. Catherine barely acknowledged it. But when Charlotte got a B+, Catherine threw a celebration dinner. Mia's art show at school. Thomas wanted to go, but Catherine scheduled a fundraiser the same night. We can't miss it for a children's art show, she said. Mia pretended she didn't care. Mia asked why she doesn't look like anyone in the family. She has her father's dark eyes, his sharp cheekbones. Catherine told her genetics are unpredictable and changed the subject. Every entry was a small cruelty. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. And Grace had documented it all, horrified but silent, complicit in her own way. The last entry, written a week before Grace died, was addressed directly to Mia. My darling girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope I was brave enough in my final days to tell you the truth in person. But in case I wasn't, in case Catherine prevented me from seeing you at the end, which she'll try to do, know this. You are not a mistake. You are not less than. You are the product of a complicated love affair between two people who never got their chance. Your father, James Shepherd, was a good man. Kind. Brilliant. He would have loved you fiercely if he'd known you existed. Don't let Catherine make you believe you're not worthy of the Tate name. You're not a Tate at all, and that's your greatest gift. You're free to become whoever you want to be. The money is yours. The truth is yours. Use both wisely. All my love. Grandma Grace. Mia closed the diary as dawn broke over the estate, her decision made. She was done being the forgotten middle child. Breakfast in the Tate mansion was a formal affair even on the day after a funeral. The family gathered in the dining room at 8 sharp, Catherine at the head of the table where the senator used to sit, already dressed in a crisp white blouse and pearls. William arrived in his usual rumpled academic way, his professorial glasses sliding down his nose. At 30, he was everything a Tate heir should be. Harvard-educated, politically connected, utterly devoted to the family legacy. He'd never been cruel to Mia, just oblivious. She was furniture to him. Background noise. Charlotte breezed in 15 minutes late, stunning in a designer dress that probably cost more than Mia's monthly rent. At 24, she was Catherine's perfect daughter. Beautiful, socially ambitious, engaged to a congressman's son. She looked at Mia the way one might look at a stray dog that kept showing up at family gatherings. And then there was Thomas, Mia's father, though apparently not her biological father. He sat across from her, reading the newspaper, his gray hair slightly messy, his tie already loosened. Thomas had always been kind but distant, more interested in his corporate law practice than parenting. Mia had spent years trying to earn his attention, never understanding why it always felt just out of reach. Now she knew. Catherine had been keeping them apart, ensuring Thomas never got too attached to the child who wasn't his. "Mia, you look tired," Catherine observed, her tone suggesting this was a moral failing. "Perhaps you should rest today instead of attending the estate reading." "I'm fine, Mother." "The reading is really just for immediate family," Charlotte added, not looking up from her phone. "You know, people who are actually inheriting significant assets." William cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Charlotte, that's not." "What?" "It's true. Grandfather left her 50,000. That's generous for someone who—" She stopped, but the implication hung in the air. "For someone who doesn't really belong." Mia's fingers tightened on her coffee cup. Yesterday, that comment would have made her shrink, would have sent her back to her room to cry in private. Today, with her grandmother's diary in her bag and a $2 million trust waiting for her, she just smiled. "You're right, Charlotte. I'm not really immediate family, am I?" The table went silent. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Mia, what's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, Mother." Just agreeing with Charlotte, Mia stood, abandoning her uneaten breakfast. "Actually, I do need to run some errands today. I'll skip the estate reading." "Mia." But she was already walking away, leaving her family staring after her in confused suspicion. Martin Cross's office was in downtown Boston, in a building that reeked of old money and older secrets. The attorney was 70 if he was a day, with kind eyes and the careful discretion of someone who'd kept the confidences of the wealthy for decades. "Miss Paxton," he said, shaking her hand. "I've been expecting this call for 6 months. Your grandmother was very specific that I was to wait for you to contact me first. She left me something." "She did indeed." He pulled out a file, thick with documents. Grace Tate was a remarkable woman. Very thorough. She set up this trust 15 years ago and added to it regularly. The current value is just over $2 million. The number made Mia dizzy, even though she'd read it in the diary. "There are conditions," Martin continued. "First, you must acknowledge the truth about your paternity. Your grandmother believed you deserved to know your real father's identity." "James Shepherd," Mia said quietly. "I know. I found her diary." Martin nodded approvingly. "Second, you must contact James's family, specifically his sister Rebecca. Grace wanted you to have the opportunity to know your father's side of the family, should you choose to. And third, you must agree to use some portion of the money to pursue your own dreams, separate from the Tate family and their expectations." Martin smiled slightly. "Grace said you'd been trying to be someone you're not for too long. This money is meant to help you become who you actually are." Mia's eyes burned. Even in death, her grandmother was protecting her. What did she mean by that? Martin pulled out another document, a letter, in Grace's handwriting. "Dearest Mia, you've spent your whole life trying to earn a place in a family that was never truly yours. I've watched you shrink yourself, dim your light, apologize for existing. I know you wanted to be an artist. I remember your paintings from high school. Beautiful, raw, honest. But Catherine convinced you art wasn't practical, that you needed to study business, to work at the family foundation, to be useful. You've been working there for 4 years now, haven't you? Filing papers, organizing galas, doing work that bores you to tears. Trying to prove you deserve to be there. Stop. Take this money. Go to Boston. Find Rebecca Shepherd and your half-sisters. And then enroll in that art program you always dreamed about.
Paint. Create.
Become the person you were always meant to be before the Tates tried to reshape you into something acceptable. You don't need their approval anymore. Asterisk love always. Grandma Grace Mia's hands shook as she set down the letter. There's one more thing, Martin said gently. Rebecca Shepherd knows about you. Grace contacted her 2 years ago, explained the situation. Rebecca has been waiting, hoping that you'd reach out. She'd very much like to meet you. She knows about me?
She does.
And according to Grace's notes, she was thrilled to learn James had a daughter. She said, and I quote, James would have moved heaven and earth for that little girl if he'd known. Mia pressed her hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. A family that wanted her. Money that could buy her freedom. Permission from the one person who'd truly loved her to finally choose herself. What do I need to do? She asked. Martin smiled. Sign the papers acknowledging the terms. Then I'll release the funds and give you Rebecca's contact information. He paused. Though I should warn you, once you claim this trust, your mother will likely find out. Grace structured it to be completely separate from the Tate estate, but these things have a way of coming to light. Good, Mia said, surprising herself with the vehemence. Let her find out. I'm done hiding. She signed the papers with a steady hand, each signature feeling like an act of rebellion. When she walked out of Martin Cross's office an hour later, she was $2 million richer and holding Rebecca Shepherd's phone number. She stood on the sidewalk, Boston traffic rushing past, and made the call before she could lose her nerve. A woman answered on the second ring. Hello. Rebecca Shepherd? Yes. Mia took a deep breath. My name is Mia Paxton. Grace Tate was my grandmother, and I think James Shepherd was my father. Silence. Then, oh my God.
Mia.
Oh my God. We've been hoping you'd call. And just like that, everything changed. Rebecca Shepherd lived in a brownstone in Beacon Hill, the kind of place Mia had always thought looked like a home rather than a museum. Ivy climbed the brick walls. Flower boxes lined the windows. A child's bicycle leaned against the front steps. Mia stood on the sidewalk for 5 minutes, gathering courage. She'd driven straight from Martin Cross's office, not giving herself time to overthink. But now, faced with the door that might lead to the family she'd never known existed, the fear crashed over her. What if they didn't like her? What if meeting her was a disappointment? What if the door opened? A woman in her 50s stood there, with dark hair going silver and eyes the exact same shade as Mia's. She wore jeans and a paint-splattered shirt, and her face was already streaking with tears. Mia, she breathed. Oh, sweetheart, you look just like him. And then Rebecca Shepherd pulled her into a hug so fierce and immediate that Mia's carefully held composure shattered. She found herself crying against this stranger's shoulder, this aunt she'd never known, while Rebecca whispered, You're home. You're finally home. They sat in Rebecca's kitchen, warm and cluttered and smelling like fresh bread, while Rebecca called her daughters. Julia. Sarah. Get over here now. Your cousin is here.
Cousin.
The word made Mia's chest tight. Within 20 minutes, 2 women arrived. Julia was 28, tall and athletic with her mother's dark eyes. Sarah was 25, petite and artistic-looking, with paint under her fingernails. They stared at Mia. Mia stared back. Holy shit, Julia said finally. She has Dad's face. Julia, language, Rebecca chided, but she was smiling through tears. Sarah moved closer, studying Mia with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. Uncle James. You have his cheekbones. His eyebrows. Oh my God, Mom, she even has his expressions. They spend the next 3 hours filling in the blanks. Rebecca showed Mia photos of James, a handsome man with kind eyes and an easy smile, usually covered in architectural plans or construction dust. An architect who'd built affordable housing and community centers instead of chasing corporate wealth. He would have loved you so much, Rebecca said, gripping Mia's hand. When Grace contacted me 2 years ago and told me about you, I was devastated that James never knew. He always wanted children but never married. Said he was waiting for the right person. She smiled sadly. I wonder if he was still holding on to Catherine, even years later. Tell me about him, Mia said. Everything. So they did. Stories about James's childhood, his fierce loyalty to friends, his terrible singing voice, his habit of sketching buildings on napkins during dinner. The way he'd taught his nieces to draw, to see the bones of structures, to understand that architecture was about creating spaces where people could live their best lives. He died doing what he loved, Rebecca said. Heart attack on a job site. He was 53. Entirely too young.
I'm sorry, Mia whispered.
Don't be. You didn't know. None of this is your fault. Rebecca's expression hardened. It's Catherine's fault. She had an affair with my brother, got pregnant, and never told him. She robbed him of knowing his daughter, and she robbed you of knowing your father. Sarah leaned forward. Grace's diary said Catherine was married to Thomas, when she had the affair. They were having problems, Mia said, repeating what she'd read. Thomas was working constantly. Catherine felt neglected. James was kind to her.
She paused.
I don't think Grandma Grace blamed him. She blamed Catherine for lying about it. As she should. Julia's voice was firm. You've been erased from your own family, Mia. That's abuse. Her phone buzzed. All their phones buzzed simultaneously. Rebecca picked hers up, frowned, then went pale. Oh no. What? Mia asked. Rebecca turned her phone around. It was a text message from a blocked number, but the content was clear. A photo of the four of them sitting in Rebecca's kitchen, taken from outside through the window. And a message. How touching. The bastard daughter finds her real family. Enjoy it while it lasts. Mia's blood ran cold. Someone's watching us. Who even knows you're here? Sarah asked. No one. I didn't tell anyone. I came straight from the lawyers. Her own phone rang. Catherine. Mia stared at it, her heart hammering. Don't answer, Julia said. But Mia did. Put it on speaker. Hello, Mother. Where are you? Catherine's voice was ice. You missed the estate reading. You missed the family dinner. Thomas is worried. I'm in Boston. Boston? Why on earth would you go to Boston? To meet my father's family. The silence on the other end was profound. I don't know what you think you're doing, Catherine said finally. Each word clipped and precise. But you need to come home immediately. We need to talk about this delusion you've apparently developed. It's not a delusion. I found Grandma Grace's diary. I know about James Shepherd. I know about the affair. I know why I was left out of the family portrait. Mia's voice was shaking but strong. I know everything. Another silence. Then, that diary is private property. You had no right. Grandma left it for me. Just like she left me a $2 million trust fund that has nothing to do with the Tate estate. Mia felt Rebecca squeeze her hand, encouraging. I claimed it today, and I'm using it to build a life away from you and your lies. Mia, listen to me very carefully. Catherine's voice went deadly calm. If you pursue this, if you make these accusations public, you will destroy this family. Your father, Thomas, he doesn't know. He thinks you're his daughter. This will devastate him. Maybe he deserves to know the truth. The truth will kill him. He has a weak heart, Mia. The shock could literally kill him. Is that what you want? To murder the man who raised you just so you can throw a tantrum about a photograph? The words hit like a physical blow. Mia hadn't considered Thomas's health, his heart condition, the fact that he was innocent in all of this. Rebecca was shaking her head violently, mouthing manipulation. But Catherine wasn't finished. And if you think you can just walk away from the Tate family and live happily ever after with these people, you're mistaken. I will contest that trust. I will prove that Grace was mentally incompetent when she created it. I will drag this through courts for years until every penny is gone in legal fees. You can't. I can and I will. Unless you come home right now, destroy that diary, and never speak to these people again. Catherine paused. You have 24 hours to decide, Mia. Your real family or your fantasy family. Choose wisely. She hung up. Mia stared at the phone, trembling. She's bluffing, Julia said immediately. She can't contest a trust that was set up 15 years ago. The statute of limitations, she can make it expensive and time-consuming, Rebecca said quietly. That's what she means. She'll tie it up in litigation, make Mia spend the entire inheritance just fighting for it. And there's Thomas, Mia whispered. His heart. What if telling him really does stop? Sarah grabbed her shoulders. She's weaponizing your empathy. That's what abusers do. They make you responsible for their emotional reactions, so you'll stay silent. But what if she's right? What if he dies because of this? Rebecca's eyes were fierce. Then that's Catherine's fault for lying to him for 26 years. Not yours for telling the truth. Mia's phone buzzed again. A text from William. Mom says you're having some kind of breakdown.
Come home.
We can get you help. Then Charlotte. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. Stop embarrassing the family. Then a blocked number. 24 hours, Mia. After that, I destroy everything you think you found. She looked at Rebecca, at Julia and Sarah, her family, her real family, and felt the weight of the choice crushing her. Stay silent and keep the peace. Or tell the truth and watch everything burn. 24 hours to decide who she wanted to be. I need to think, she said. You need to stay here tonight, Rebecca said firmly. With us. You're safe here. We'll figure this out together. Together. Mia had never had that before. Someone on her side. Someone fighting with her instead of against her. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. And outside, hidden in the gathering darkness, someone took another photo of the Shepherd house and sent it to Catherine with a simple message. Target acquired. Awaiting further instructions. Mia woke up on Rebecca's couch to the smell of coffee and the sound of voices arguing in the kitchen. She sat up, disoriented. She'd fallen asleep sometime after midnight, emotionally exhausted from the longest day of her life. Rebecca had insisted she stay, had given her pajamas and a blanket, and treated her like she'd always belonged there. Now, in the gray morning light, Mia crept toward the kitchen. Absolutely not, Rebecca was saying, her voice firm. She just got here. She's processing 26 years of lies. The last thing she needs is more pressure. I'm not pressuring her. That was Julia. I'm saying we need to be strategic. Catherine Tate is a political operative. She's not going to just accept this quietly. Which is why Mia needs support, not a battle plan. Support means protecting her. And that means getting ahead of whatever Catherine is planning. Mia stepped into the kitchen. All three women turned. What is Catherine planning? She asked. Julia and Rebecca exchanged a look. Show her, Sarah said quietly. Julia pulled up her laptop, turned it to face Mia. On the screen was a news article from the Boston Globe Society page, posted an hour ago. Tate family spokesperson addresses concerns about granddaughter's well-being. The article was brief, but devastating. It quoted a source close to the family, saying that Mia Paxton had been struggling with mental health issues since Senator Tate's death. That she'd become fixated on conspiracy theories about her parentage. That the family was seeking appropriate care for her and asked for privacy during this difficult time. Mental health issues. Conspiracy theories. Appropriate care. Translation: she's crazy. Don't believe anything she says. We're going to have her committed. She's destroying my credibility, Mia whispered. Before I can even tell my story, she's making sure no one will believe me. It's a classic tactic, Julia said. She worked as a crisis management consultant, Mia had learned last night. Discredit the whistleblower before they can blow the whistle. Make it about your mental state instead of about her lies. Can we sue for defamation? We could try. But she didn't name herself as the source. And technically, she's expressing concern for you, which gives her plausible deniability. Julia's expression was frustrated. She's good at this. Rebecca put a cup of coffee in Mia's hands. What do you want to do, sweetheart? This is your choice. We'll support whatever you decide. What did she want to do? Yesterday the answer had seemed simple. Claim her inheritance, find her real family, walk away from the Tates forever. But Catherine had made it clear she wouldn't allow a quiet exit. She was going to fight dirty. Mia's phone rang. Thomas. She stared at it, her heart aching. Thomas had been a distant father, yes, but never cruel, never deliberately hurtful. He was just a man who'd been lied to by his wife for 26 years and didn't know it. I should answer, she said. Are you sure? Sarah asked. Mia nodded and accepted the call. Hello, Dad.
Mia. His voice was strained.
Are you all right? Your mother said you've been making some very concerning claims. I found Grandma Grace's diary. I know about James Shepherd. I know I'm not your biological daughter. Silence. Long, painful silence.
Dad.
This is Mia. This is insane. Where would you get an idea like that? From Grandma Grace. She documented everything. The affair, the paternity, the way Mom has treated me my whole life because of it. Mia's voice cracked. You didn't know, did you? She never told you. There's nothing to tell because it's not true. Your mother would never. But his voice wavered. Uncertain. When I was 6, I had a health scare. Appendicitis. Do you remember? Of course. You were in the hospital for 3 days. Did they ask for blood typing? For paternity verification for some kind of genetic test? Another pause. I don't maybe. There were a lot of tests. Why does that matter? Because that's when Mom told Grandpa Jonathan and Grandma Grace the truth. It's in the diary. She confessed because the medical records were going to reveal it anyway. Mia took a breath. Dad, I'm not trying to hurt you, but I need you to consider the possibility that Mom has been lying to both of us. Catherine doesn't lie. Doesn't she?
Mia prest.
Think about it, Dad. Really think. Have you ever wondered why I don't look like anyone in the family? Why Mom treats me so differently than William and Charlotte? Why I was left out of the family portrait? You were sick that day. I wasn't sick. I was excluded. Deliberately. Because Mom couldn't stand to have evidence of her affair in the official family photo. She heard him breathing, heard the sound of doubt creeping in. I want to see this diary, he said finally. Dad, if you're making this up, if you're having some kind of breakdown like your mother says, then we need to get you help. But if, his voice broke, if there's even a chance this is true, I need to see the evidence. Mia looked at Rebecca, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, meet me somewhere neutral. Not the estate. Somewhere Mom won't know about. Where are you? Boston. With Rebecca Shepherd, James's sister. Another long silence. Then, I'll be there in 3 hours. He hung up. That was brave, Rebecca said. Or stupid. Mia was shaking. What if he tells Catherine? What if this makes everything worse? Or, Sarah said gently, what if he finally sees the truth and you get to have an actual relationship with your father? 3 hours later, Thomas Tate stood in Rebecca's living room looking diminished somehow, older than his 60 years. His eyes went immediately to Rebecca. You look like him, he said quietly. Like James. I see it now. Rebecca nodded. You were his friend. At Harvard. He talked about you. We lost touch after. Thomas trailed off, realization dawning on his face. After Catherine and I got married, he stopped returning my calls. I thought he was just busy. He was heartbroken, Rebecca said simply. Over a woman he couldn't have. I never knew who until Grace contacted me 2 years ago. Thomas turned to Mia. Show me the diary. Mia handed it over, marked to the relevant passages. She watched her father, the man who'd raised her, if not created her, read the truth about his marriage, his wife, his life. His face went from skeptical to shocked to devastated. The portrait sitting, he whispered. I remember. Catherine said you were sick. But you weren't, were you? I saw you that morning. You were fine. She sent me to my room, Mia said. Told the nanny to keep me upstairs. I cried because I wanted to be in the picture with William and Charlotte. Thomas pressed his hand to his mouth. Oh God. Oh God, Mia, I'm so sorry. I should have noticed. I should have questioned. She lied to both of us, Mr. Tate, Rebecca said. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I was her husband, your father. I was supposed to protect you. He looked at Mia with anguish. Instead, I let her make you feel like you didn't belong. You didn't know. I should have. He stood abruptly, pacing. The health scare when you were 6. Catherine insisted on handling all the medical information herself. Said I was too busy with work, and I let her because it was easier. His voice was bitter. I let a lot of things be easier. What are you going to do? Mia asked. Thomas looked at her, at the diary, at Rebecca. I'm going to divorce Catherine.
Today.
And then I'm going to make sure you get everything you should have inherited from the senator's estate. Everything she tried to keep from you. Thomas, Mr. Tate, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my daughter. Maybe not biologically, but I raised you. I love you, even if I was terrible at showing it. His eyes were fierce now, determined. And I will not let Catherine hurt you anymore. He left to find a lawyer, to start the divorce proceedings, to begin unraveling 26 years of lies. Mia collapsed on the couch, overwhelmed. That went better than expected, Julia observed. Sarah sat next to Mia. You okay? I don't know what I am.
Mia laughed shakily.
I thought finding out the truth would give me closure. Instead, it's like I detonated a bomb in the middle of my entire family. Sometimes the truth is a bomb, Rebecca said. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be told. Mia's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You've made a serious mistake. Thomas will forgive Catherine. He always does. And when he does, you'll have no one. Last chance to make this go away quietly. Call me in the next hour or face the consequences. Mia showed it to the others. That's a direct threat, Julia said. We could take this to the police. And say what? Catherine Tate sent me a mean text? They'll laugh us out of the station, especially with that article painting me as mentally unstable. So, what do we do? Mia thought about her grandmother's diary, about the trust fund, about Thomas's devastated face when he learned the truth. She thought about the portrait that had excluded her and the family that had erased her. And she thought about the choice Grace had given her. Stay in the shadows or step into the light.
We go public, she said.
Not quietly. Not through lawyers. We tell the whole story. The affair, the lies, the diary, everything. We take away Catherine's ability to control the narrative. That's nuclear, Julia warned. Once you do that, there's no going back. Good, Mia said. I don't want to go back. Rebecca smiled. Then let's burn it all down. Thomas called back 2 hours later. His voice was shaking. Mia, I need you to come to the estate.
Now.
Don't tell your mother. Come to the senator's private study. I found something. What kind of something? Just come.
Please.
And bring the shepherds if you want. You're going to need witnesses for this. They arrived at the Tate estate an hour later. Mia's stomach churned as they pulled up the familiar circular driveway. She'd lived here for 18 years, and it had never felt like home. Now it felt like enemy territory. Thomas met them at a side entrance, looking haggard. He'd aged a decade since this morning. Catherine is out, he said. Meeting with the family attorneys. We have maybe an hour before she gets back. He led them through the mansion to the senator's private study, a room that had been locked since his death. The air inside was stale, filled with the smell of old books and expensive cigars. After I left your house this morning, I couldn't stop thinking, Thomas said, pacing. About the portrait. About the inheritance. About why Catherine was so specific that Mia only received 50,000 while William and Charlotte got millions. Because she wanted to erase me from the family, Mia said. That's what I thought too. But then I remembered something the senator said a few months before he died. He was heavily medicated, rambling. He grabbed my hand and said, "Make sure the girl gets what's hers. Catherine can't be trusted with it." Mia's heart stuttered. He said that? I thought he meant Charlotte. Your grandfather doted on Charlotte. But what if? Thomas moved to the senator's desk, to a portrait of Grace that hung behind it. He lifted the frame, revealing a wall safe. What if he meant you? Thomas entered a combination. The safe clicked open. Inside were documents.
Dozens of them.
Thomas pulled out a thick folder marked Confidential, MIA Paxton Tate. He handed it to Mia with shaking hands. She opened it. The first document was a letter, dated 6 months before the senator's death, in his distinctive handwriting. To my granddaughter Mia, though I know now that biology says otherwise. You are still mine in every way that matters. Grace told me the truth about your father 15 years ago, and I have watched you grow up knowing you carried another man's blood. But you also carry Grace's kindness, and that matters more than any DNA test. Catherine has tried to make you invisible. I let her, to my eternal shame, because I was more concerned with political appearances than with your well-being. I am sorry. This is my attempt to make it right. Mia's hands trembled as she turned to the next page. It was a codicil to the senator's will, properly notarized and dated 8 months ago. In addition to the bequests listed in my primary will, I leave the following to Mia Paxton Tate: the summer house in Maine, currently valued at $3.8 million. My entire collection of first edition books, valued at approximately $1.2 million. And 60% controlling interest in the Sterling Family Foundation, which manages assets of approximately $40 million. The room spun. 60%. Controlling interest. That meant Mia would have final say over the foundation that bore the family name. That meant William's majority stake was actually a minority. There's more, Thomas said quietly. The next document was a letter from the senator's personal attorney, Martin Cross, the same attorney who'd handled Grace's trust. Senator Tate came to me 8 months ago with explicit instructions. He wanted to create a codicil that would ensure his granddaughter Mia inherited the bulk of his estate. When I asked why he was changing his previous will, which left most assets to his grandson William, he said, and I quote, "Because Catherine manipulated me into that will. She's been poisoning my mind against Mia for years, making me believe the girl was unstable, ungrateful. Grace made me see the truth before she died. Mia is being emotionally abused, and I'm complicit. This is my apology." He made me promise not to reveal the codicil until after the standard will was read. He wanted to see how Catherine would behave without constraints. He suspected she would try to minimize Mia's inheritance. He was testing her. And Catherine had failed spectacularly. She knew, Mia whispered. She knew this codicil existed. That's why she's been trying so hard to discredit me, to make me look unstable. If I'm declared mentally incompetent, the inheritance could be contested. Julia finished. The articles about your mental health, the threats, all of it. She's building a case that you're not fit to manage the estate. Rebecca was reading over Mia's shoulder. This document was supposed to be revealed at the estate reading today. Why wasn't it? Thomas's face darkened. Because Catherine told Martin Cross not to attend. Said the family wanted a private, simple reading and she would handle the paperwork herself. Martin assumed she would present all the documents. Instead, she only presented the primary will, Mia said, and hid the codicil. That's fraud, Sarah said. That's actual criminal fraud. Thomas pulled out his phone. I'm calling Martin Cross right now. And then I'm calling the police. Wait. Mia's mind was racing. If we go to the police now, Catherine will destroy evidence. She'll claim the codicil is a forgery, that I planted it here, that this is proof of my instability. The codicil is filed with the probate court, Thomas said. She can't destroy that, is it? Julia asked. Or did Catherine intercept it before it could be filed? The question hung in the air. Thomas's call to Martin Cross confirmed their worst fears. Martin had sent the codicil to Catherine's attorney per her request, assuming it would be filed with the rest of the estate documents. But when Martin checked the probate court records, there was no codicil on file. Catherine had it, and she'd hidden it. She's committed a felony, Martin said over the speakerphone. Concealing a will, defrauding beneficiaries. If you can prove she received the document and deliberately withheld it, she could face prison time. Mia looked at the papers in her hands. Proof that her grandfather had loved her. Proof that he'd tried to make amends. Proof that Catherine had stolen her inheritance and tried to gaslight her into believing she deserved nothing. "We need to find her copy of the codicil," Julia said. "With proof she received it and hid it. We have her." "Her office," Thomas said. "She keeps important documents in a safe in her private office upstairs." "Can you open it?" Rebecca asked. "I know the combination." "She doesn't know I know, but I do." Thomas looked at Mia. "This is your choice. We can wait, do this through proper legal channels, risk giving her time to destroy evidence. Or we can get that codicil now and force a confrontation." Mia thought about the portrait in the foyer, about being erased, about 26 years of being made to feel small and unwanted and less than, about her grandmother's words, "Choose yourself." "Let's get it now," she said. They climbed the stairs to Catherine's private office, a space Mia had been forbidden from entering her entire childhood. Thomas opened the safe with steady hands. Inside were files, organized with Catherine's typical precision. Thomas pulled them out one by one until he found what they were looking for. A manila envelope marked Senator's Codicil, Do Not File. And beneath it, a folder containing something even more damning, emails between Catherine and the family attorney discussing how to handle the Mia situation and whether declaring her mentally incompetent would be the cleanest solution. They were photographing everything when they heard it. The front door opening, heels clicking on marble, Catherine's voice calling out, "Thomas? Are you home?" They froze. "She's early," Thomas whispered. Catherine's footsteps were climbing the stairs, coming toward them. They had maybe 30 seconds before she discovered them in her office, going through her safe, holding evidence of her crimes. "What do we do?" Sarah hissed. Mia looked at the documents in her hands, at the proof of everything, at the truth her grandfather had tried to give her. And she made a choice. She walked out of the office and stood at the top of the stairs. Catherine stopped midway, her face shifting from surprise to fury when she saw who was behind Mia. The Shepherds. Thomas. All of them in her private space. "What the hell is going on here?" Catherine demanded. Mia held up the codicil. "This is what's going on. Grandfather left me 60% of the foundation, and you hid it." Catherine's face went white, then red, then a mask of cold calculation. "You broke into my office. That's illegal. Anything you found is inadmissible." "I didn't break in," Thomas said, stepping forward. "I let them in. This is my house too, Catherine. And I know what you did." For the first time in Mia's life, she saw her mother truly rattled. "Thomas, whatever she's told you is a lie. Is the codicil a lie? Are the emails about having her declared incompetent a lie?" His voice was shaking with rage. "I read everything, Catherine. Everything." Catherine's eyes darted between them, calculating, planning her next move. Then she smiled. "Cold. Dangerous. You think you've won, but you have no idea what you've started." Catherine didn't wait for them to respond. She pulled out her phone and made a call. "Martin, it's Catherine Tate. I'm at the estate, and there's been a break-in. My office safe has been compromised. I need you to call the police immediately and send security." She paused, listening, her eyes never leaving Mia. "Yes, I know who did it. My stepdaughter and her accomplices. The ones I told you about. The mentally unstable young woman I've been trying to help." "You can't be serious," Rebecca said. "I'm dead serious. You're trespassing in my home, going through my private documents. That's breaking and entering. That's theft." Catherine's smile was razor sharp. And given Mia's recent erratic behavior, documented in multiple news sources, this looks very much like a woman having a complete breakdown. I live here, Mia said. I'm not trespassing.
Do you?
You haven't stayed here in 4 years. Your apartment is in Cambridge. This is my home, left to me by my father. Catherine descended the stairs slowly, predatory. And you brought strangers here to rob me. The codicil proves nothing except that my elderly, ill father was manipulated in his final months by his wife, who we all know had developed dementia. Catherine's voice was smooth, practiced. Grace wasn't competent when she died. Everyone knows that. The doctor will testify to it, which means any documents she influenced, any codicils she convinced him to create, are invalid. Mia felt the ground shifting under her feet. Grandma Grace didn't have dementia. Didn't she? The wandering, the confusion, the paranoid accusations she made toward the end, all documented by her medical team. Catherine held up her own phone, showing medical records. Diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's 18 months before she died, which means anything the senator created under her influence during that period can be contested. Thomas stepped forward. Those records are fake. I was with Grace every week. She was sharp until the very end. Were you? Or were you at your office, like always, while I was here caring for both your parents? Catherine's eyes flashed. I have witnesses. Medical professionals. Documentation. What do you have? A diary written by a sick woman and a codicil she convinced a dying man to create. The sound of sirens in the distance made Mia's heart sink. You called the police before you even got home, Julia said, realization dawning. You knew we were here. I had security monitoring the house. When Thomas accessed my office, I was alerted immediately. Catherine looked at Thomas with something like pity. Did you really think I wouldn't have safeguards? I've been protecting this family for 30 years. 2 police cars pulled up outside. Catherine went to let them in, leaving the group frozen at the top of the stairs. We need to leave, Sarah whispered urgently.
Now.
If we run, it looks like we're guilty, Thomas said. If we stay, she'll have Mia arrested. Rebecca grabbed Mia's arm. We have the photos of the documents. That's enough. We can fight this from outside a jail cell. But it was too late. Catherine returned with 2 officers, her face the picture of concerned distress. Thank you for coming so quickly. I'm worried about my daughter. She's been having some kind of mental health crisis since my father's funeral. Catherine gestured to Mia. She's broken into my office with these people, going through private family documents. I think she may need psychiatric evaluation. Mrs. Tate, I'm your husband, Thomas said. I let them in. There's no break-in. Thomas, I know you love Mia, but she's clearly manipulated you. Just like she manipulated these strangers into believing her delusions about her parentage. Catherine's performance was flawless. Officer, I don't want to press charges. I just want to make sure my daughter gets the help she needs. The older officer looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, if there's no break-in and the husband gave access, I'm not sure what you want us to do here. I want Mia evaluated. She's a danger to herself and possibly others. She's making wild accusations, harassing my family, exhibiting paranoid behavior. Catherine pulled out her phone again. I have a psychiatrist on standby. Dr. Morrison. He's willing to do an emergency evaluation. You can't force me into a psych eval, Mia said, her voice shaking. Actually, in Massachusetts, If there's credible concern that someone is a danger to themselves or others, a family member can request emergency psychiatric hold. Catherine looked at the officers. Isn't that right? The younger officer nodded reluctantly. A Section 12. But it requires a physician or psychologist to authorize it. I have Dr. Morrison waiting at McLean Hospital. He's reviewed Mia's recent behavior and agrees she meets the criteria. Catherine's voice was all concern now, all worried mother.
Please.
I just want my daughter safe. Mia felt the world closing in. A Section 12 could hold her for up to 72 hours. 3 days in a psychiatric facility while Catherine destroyed evidence and built her case. 3 days of being medicated, evaluated, documented as unstable. It was a perfect trap. Don't do this, Mia said. Please, Mom.
Don't do this.
I'm doing this because I love you, Catherine said, and almost sounded like she believed it. You're sick, sweetheart. You need help. Thomas stepped between Mia and the officers. She's not going anywhere. I'm her father, and I don't consent to any evaluation. You're not her father, Catherine said quietly. Biologically. The paternity test I had done when she was 6 proved it, which means legally, as her mother, I have the right to make medical decisions for her. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Thomas went white. You had a paternity test? Without telling me? I had to know. After James, after the affair. I had to be sure. Catherine's mask slipped slightly, showing real emotion underneath. Guilt.
Shame.
The test confirmed what I suspected. She's not yours, Thomas. She's his. You lied to me for 20 years. I protected you, protected us, protected this family from scandal. Catherine's voice rose. And I'm protecting us now from her trying to destroy everything we've built. The officers were looking increasingly uncomfortable. This was clearly a family matter spiraling out of control. Look, the older officer said. This isn't really a police matter. This is family stuff. You all need to work this out privately, maybe with lawyers. She stole estate documents, Catherine insisted. That's theft. Her name is on the documents, Julia countered. You can't steal your own inheritance. There's no proof those documents are legitimate. They could be forgeries. Enough. Thomas's voice cracked like thunder. Everyone stop. Just stop. He looked at Catherine with something like heartbreak. You really did this. All of it. The affair, the lies, the manipulation. You've been gaslighting our daughter for 26 years. I've been protecting our family. You've been protecting yourself. Thomas turned to the officers. My wife is not pressing charges. I'm the legal owner of this home, and I gave access to these people. There's no crime here. You can go. The officers looked at Catherine, whose composure was fracturing.
Fine, she said.
But I'm filing for divorce. And I'm suing for full ownership of this estate and the senator's assets. By the time I'm done, you'll have nothing, Thomas. Nothing. I don't care. And Mia? Catherine's eyes were cold. I'll prove she's mentally incompetent. I'll prove the codicil was obtained through fraud. I'll prove Grace was demented and manipulated the senator. And when I'm done, that girl won't get a penny. She looked at Mia. You should have taken the $50,000 and stayed quiet. She walked out, the police following, leaving devastation in her wake. Thomas sank onto the stairs, his head in his hands. 20 years. 20 years of lies. Mia felt numb. She'd won the battle, but Catherine had just declared total war. And with her resources, her connections, her willingness to destroy anyone in her path, Catherine was a formidable enemy. "We still have the photos," Rebecca said. "The proof, which she'll claim are doctored.
Fake.
Created by Mia's delusions." Julia's expression was grim. "She's going to drag this through courts for years. She'll tie up the estate, the inheritance, everything. And she'll spend millions doing it just to make sure Mia gets nothing." "So I lose," Mia whispered. "Even with the truth, even with proof, I lose." Sarah put her arm around her. "Not if we fight." "With what?" "She has unlimited resources. She has medical records saying Grandma was demented. She has news articles saying I'm unstable. She has everything." Mia felt tears streaming down her face. "I should have just stayed quiet. Should have taken the 50,000 and disappeared." "No," Thomas said, standing. "No, you did the right thing. And I'm going to help you fight her." "You'll lose everything, Dad. I already lost everything that mattered." He looked at her with anguish. "I lost 20 years with you because I believed her lies. I'm not losing anything else." But even as he said it, Mia could see the doubt in his eyes, the fear. Catherine was ruthless and connected and willing to burn everything down to win. And Mia was just a 26-year-old woman with a diary and a dream of belonging somewhere. She'd started this fight thinking truth would be enough. Now she realized truth was just the beginning. The real battle was just starting. And she had no idea how to win it. They retreated to Rebecca's house in Boston to regroup. Mia sat in the kitchen, staring at nothing, while the others made phone calls and reviewed legal options. She felt hollow, defeated. Catherine had outmaneuvered them at every turn. "We could leak the story to the press," Julia suggested. "Get ahead of her narrative." "She'll claim we're harassing her," Rebecca countered. "That we're unhinged conspiracy theorists." "What about the probate court? If we file the codicil ourselves, Catherine will contest it. Claim forgery, undue influence, dementia. We'll be in litigation for years." Mia listened to them strategize and felt nothing. What was the point? Catherine had money, power, connections. She'd already poisoned the narrative, already made Mia look unstable. Her phone buzzed. A text from William. "Mom told us everything. I can't believe you'd make up lies about Dad just to get more money. You're pathetic." Then Charlotte. "You've always been jealous of us. But this is low even for you. Stay away from our family. Their family, not hers."
Mia stood abruptly.
"I need air." She walked out into Rebecca's garden, into the cool evening, and let herself fall apart where no one could see. 26 years of trying to belong, of making herself smaller, quieter, less. And for what? To be erased from a portrait and written out of a will and called crazy when she dared to tell the truth. Maybe Catherine was right. Maybe she should have taken the 50,000 and disappeared.
"Mia."
She turned. Thomas stood in the doorway, looking older and more broken than she'd ever seen him. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know this isn't what you wanted. Finding out about Mom, about me, stop." He crossed to her, took her hands. "You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. Do you understand me? But your marriage, your family, was built on lies. Catherine's lies, not yours." His eyes were fierce. "I've spent the last 3 hours thinking about our life together. Really thinking. And I see it now. All the times she kept you away from me. All the times she made excuses for why we couldn't spend time together. All the ways she made sure you and I never got too close. Because I wasn't yours. Because she was afraid I'd love you anyway. Which I do." His voice cracked.
You are my daughter, Mia.
"I don't care what any DNA test says. I raised you. I watched you grow up. You're mine." The words broke something open in Mia's chest. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you," Thomas whispered. "I'm so sorry I let her make you feel invisible. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." They stood there in the garden for a long time, grieving together for the relationship they'd lost and the one they were trying to build. When they came back inside, Sarah met them at the door. "Martin Cross just called.
He wants to talk to Mia.
Says it's urgent." Mia took the call on speaker so everyone could hear. "Miss Paxton, I've been reviewing the situation," Martin said. "Catherine is making a serious legal error. By publicly stating that Grace had dementia and that the codicil was created under undue influence, she's opened herself up to a challenge."
How?
Julia asked. "Because Grace also created the trust for Mia 2 years ago. The one I manage. If Grace was incompetent due to dementia at the time she influenced the senator's codicil, then she was also incompetent when she created Mia's trust. Catherine would have to contest both. But if she contests the trust, she has to prove Grace was demented starting at least 2 years before her death." "And?" Mia asked. "And I have documentation proving Grace was examined by 3 independent physicians during that period. All confirmed she was of sound mind. I insisted on it specifically to prevent this kind of challenge." Martin's voice held satisfaction. If Catherine claims Grace was incompetent, she'll have to explain away 3 medical evaluations that say otherwise. "So, the trust is safe," Rebecca said. "More than safe. It's bulletproof. And it establishes that Grace was competent, which means if she was competent enough to create a trust, she was competent enough to influence her husband's will." Catherine's entire argument collapses. Mia felt the first stirring of hope. "Can we use this? I'm already drafting a motion. We file the codicil with the probate court along with Grace's medical evaluations and the trust documents. We force Catherine to either accept that Grace was competent and the codicil is valid, or contest it and lose the argument that Grace had dementia." Martin paused. "There's one more thing. I reviewed the emails you photographed. The ones about declaring Mia incompetent. What about them? They constitute fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud. Catherine was actively planning to steal Mia's inheritance by having her declared mentally unfit. With Thomas's testimony and those emails, we could file criminal charges." The room went silent. "Criminal charges?" Thomas asked. "Against Catherine? Estate fraud is a felony in Massachusetts. If convicted, she could face prison time, and it wouldn't validate any claim she has to contest the codicil." Martin's voice was careful, but it would mean destroying her completely. Her reputation, her freedom, everything. You need to decide if that's what you want. Mia looked at Thomas, at the man who just claimed her as his daughter despite everything. This was his wife, the mother of his other children. Destroying Catherine would devastate William and Charlotte too. "I don't know if I can do that," she whispered. "Sending her to prison? She tried to do worse to you," Sarah said. "She tried to have you committed. Tried to steal your inheritance. Tried to gaslight you into thinking you were crazy." "I know, but William and Charlotte are innocent in this. And they already hate me. If I'm the reason their mother goes to prison, then they'll hate you forever," Rebecca finished. "But you'll be free, and you'll have what's rightfully yours. There might be another option. Julia said slowly. What if we offer Catherine a choice? She accepts the codicil, drops the mental incompetency claims, and agrees to a quiet divorce from Thomas. In exchange, we don't file criminal charges. She keeps her freedom and her reputation, Martin said, but loses control of the estate and her marriage. Is that enough for you, Mia? Mia thought about the portrait, about being erased, about 26 years of being made to feel less than. She thought about her grandmother's words, choose yourself. But she also thought about mercy, about being better than the people who'd hurt her. I want to offer her the deal, she said. But I want one more thing. I want her to admit the truth. Not publicly, but to William and Charlotte. I want them to know why I was excluded, why I was treated differently. They deserve to know the truth. She'll never agree to that, Thomas said. Then we filed charges and let the court make it public anyway. Mia's voice was steady now, certain. But I'm giving her the choice. Admit the truth to her children and walk away with her freedom, or fight us and lose everything. Rebecca smiled. That's my girl. Offering mercy, but drawing a line. Martin cleared his throat. I'll draw up the agreement. But Mia, you need to prepare yourself. Catherine doesn't respond well to ultimatums. This could go very badly. Everything has already gone badly, Mia said. At least this way, I'm choosing how it ends. They spend the next 2 hours crafting the proposal. Martin would present it to Catherine's attorney tomorrow. She'd have 48 hours to decide. Accept the deal, acknowledge Mia's inheritance, confess the truth to William and Charlotte, divorce Thomas quietly, or reject it, face criminal charges, public scandal, and almost certain prison time. As midnight approached, Mia stood at Rebecca's window, looking out at the Boston lights. Sarah joined her. How are you feeling? Terrified, hopeful, angry, grateful.
Mia laughed shakily.
Everything at once. That's normal. You're rewriting your entire life. What if Catherine doesn't take the deal? What if she calls our bluff? Then we follow through, and she goes to prison. Sarah squeezed her hand. But either way, you win. Either she admits the truth and you get your inheritance, or she fights and destroys herself. You're not the powerless little girl she left out of that portrait anymore. Mia looked at her reflection in the window. Sarah was right. She'd changed. The scared, people-pleasing woman who'd stood in that foyer 4 days ago wouldn't recognize the person she'd become. Someone who demanded truth, who chose herself, who refused to be erased.
Thank you, she said.
All of you.
For believing me.
For fighting with me. That's what family does, Rebecca said from the doorway. Thomas stood beside her, along with Julia.
Family. Real family.
The kind that chose you, that stood beside you, that loved you not despite the truth, but because of it. Tomorrow, Catherine would get the ultimatum. In 48 hours, everything would change. But tonight, for the first time in her life, Mia felt like she belonged somewhere. And that was worth fighting for. Catherine's attorney called at noon the next day. My client rejects your proposal, he said curtly. She maintains that all documents are fraudulent and that Miss Paxton is experiencing a mental health crisis. Furthermore, she's filing for a restraining order to prevent contact with her children and tell Catherine she has 24 hours before we file criminal charges, Martin interrupted. And tell her we're also releasing the medical evaluations proving Grace was competent. Every newspaper in Boston will have them by tomorrow morning. He hung up. So she's going to fight, Thomas said heavily. She's posturing, Julia countered. Seeing if we'll blink first. We need to hold firm. They spent the afternoon preparing. Martin filed the codicil with the probate court, along with Grace's medical records and a motion to recognize Mia as the primary beneficiary. He also prepared the criminal complaint, ready to file at a moment's notice. At 6 p.m., there was a knock at Rebecca's door. It was William. He stood on the porch looking uncomfortable, his academic dishevelment more pronounced than usual. He wouldn't meet Mia's eyes. "Can I come in?" They led him to the living room. He sat, fidgeting with his glasses. "Mom doesn't know I'm here," he said. "She told Charlotte and me not to have contact with you. Said you were dangerous." He finally looked up. "But I couldn't stop thinking about what you said."
About the portrait.
About being excluded. Will, I remember that day. The photo shoot. You cried because you wanted to be in it with us. Mom said you were being difficult. Sent you to your room. His voice was quiet. I was 9. I thought it was normal. The way Mom treated you differently. I thought you were just, I don't know, the problem child. That's what she wanted you to think. I know. I'm starting to see that now. William pulled out his phone. I went through Mom's emails. The ones on the family computer she thinks are private. I found her correspondence with Martin Cross about grandfather's codicil. She received it. She knew about it. She deliberately didn't file it. Mia's heart stuttered. You found proof. I found everything. The emails about declaring you incompetent. The communication with the doctor about having you committed. The plan to contest the will by claiming Grandma had dementia. William's hands shook. My mother is a criminal, and I helped her by believing her lies about you. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have questioned why you were always excluded, why she treated you like you didn't matter. He looked at her with genuine remorse.
I'm sorry, Mia.
I'm so sorry. The apology landed like a bomb on 26 years of wounds. Thank you, she whispered. I want to testify. When this goes to court, I want to tell them what I remember, what I found. William straightened his shoulders. Mom is wrong, and she needs to face consequences. What about Charlotte? Charlotte is. William sighed. Charlotte believes everything Mom says. I tried to talk to her, but she won't listen. She thinks you're trying to destroy the family. I'm trying to claim what's mine. I know, and you should have it. All of it. Grandfather wanted you to have it. William stood. I'll send you the emails I found. Use them however you need to. He left as quietly as he'd come, but his visit changed everything. Now they had testimony from inside the family. Proof that even Catherine's own son could see the truth. 2 hours later, Catherine's attorney called back. My client would like to meet. Face to face. Tonight. Just Catherine, Mia, and Thomas.
No lawyers, no recordings.
A private conversation to see if this can be resolved. It's a trap, Julia said immediately. Probably, Martin agreed. But if she's willing to meet, she might be ready to negotiate. Or she's planning something worse, Sarah countered. Thomas looked at Mia. Your choice. We don't have to do this.
Mia thought about it.
About facing Catherine one last time. About hearing whatever justification or manipulation or final play her mother had planned. I'll meet her, she said. But here, on our territory. And you're all in the next room listening. Catherine arrived at 8 p.m. alone, impeccably dressed despite the circumstances. She looked around Rebecca's modest living room with barely concealed disdain before sitting across from Mia and Thomas. This is quite the alliance you've built, she said. The rejected daughter finds her real family and turns them against her poor, Victimized mother. Is that what you think this is? Mia asked. Isn't it? You've always been jealous of William and Charlotte.
Of me.
Of the life we had that you couldn't quite fit into. Catherine's voice was almost gentle.
I understand, Mia.
I do. It must have been hard being the outsider. I was the outsider because you made me one. I made you safe. Catherine leaned forward. Do you have any idea what would have happened if the truth came out? The scandal would have destroyed Thomas's career, ended the senator's political legacy, ruined William and Charlotte's futures. I protected all of you by keeping the secret. You protected yourself, Thomas said quietly. Is there a difference? I was trying to hold this family together by erasing our daughter from it. Thomas's voice was steel. By gaslighting her into believing she deserved to be invisible. By stealing her inheritance and trying to have her committed when she discovered the truth. Catherine's mask slipped slightly. I never meant for it to go this far. The exclusions, the coldness, it was supposed to maintain distance. To prevent questions. To protect the secret. The secret that you had an affair and passed off another man's child as mine? Thomas's pain was raw. Did you ever love me, Catherine? Or was I always just the suitable husband? The one with the right family, the right connections? I loved you. For the first time, Catherine's voice wavered. I did. I do. But I also loved James. And I made a choice 26 years ago to protect my marriage instead of my heart. That choice had consequences. And I paid for them, Mia said. Not you. Me. A child who had no say in any of it. Catherine looked at her, really looked at her, and something cracked in her expression. You look like him, she whispered. Every time I see you, I see James. The affair I regret. The love I gave up. The choice I wish I'd made differently. She blinked rapidly. I know that's not your fault. I know it's mine. But it doesn't make it easier to look at you and see my biggest mistake staring back. I'm not your mistake. I'm a person. Your daughter. I know. Catherine's voice broke. And I've been a terrible mother to you. I know that too. Silence filled the room. William came to see me, Mia said. He knows everything. He's willing to testify against you. Catherine's face went white. William wouldn't. He already has. He gave us the emails from your computer. The ones proving you received the codicil and hid it. The ones about having me declared incompetent. Mia held her mother's gaze. You're going to lose, Mom. The question is how much you lose. Prison and public humiliation? Or just your pride? Catherine sat very still. Then, what do you want? I want you to accept the codicil. I want the inheritance grandfather left me. I want you to tell Charlotte the truth. All of it. And I want a divorce between you and Dad that doesn't leave him destitute. That's all. That's everything. Catherine laughed bitterly. You're offering me mercy? After everything I've done? I'm offering you a choice. The same choice you never gave me. Catherine stood, walked to the window, looked out at the dark street. When she turned back, her mask was gone. She just looked tired. If I agree, what happens to me? You keep your freedom. Your reputation takes a hit but survives. You lose the estate and the foundation, but you have your own money. Mia's voice was firm. And maybe, someday, if you actually work on yourself, you could have a relationship with your children. All of them. You'd want that? After everything? I don't know, but I'm leaving the door open. That's more than you ever did for me. Catherine was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and called someone. Charlotte, I need you to come to Boston. Tonight. There's something I need to tell you.
She paused.
Yes, it's about Mia. And no, you can't say no. This is not a request. She hung up and looked at Mia. She'll be here in an hour. I'll tell her everything. The affair, the paternity, the abuse. All of it. And the codicil? I'll accept it. File whatever paperwork Martin needs. The inheritance is yours. Catherine's smile was sad. Your grandfather was right about you. You're stronger than any of us gave you credit for. I learned from Grandma Grace.
Yes, you did.
She was always the best of us. Catherine gathered her purse. I'll wait outside for Charlotte. I don't think I can be in the same room with Thomas right now. She left. Thomas sat heavily, looking shell-shocked. Is it really over? Almost, Mia said. In the next room, Rebecca, Julia, and Sarah emerged from where they'd been listening. She agreed, Rebecca said wonderingly. She actually agreed, because she knew she'd lost, Julia said. The emails from William sealed it. Mia stood at the window, watching her mother sit alone in her expensive car, waiting to confess her sins to her daughter. She'd won. The inheritance, the truth, the acknowledgement. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like the end of something and the beginning of something else. Like finally, after 26 years, she could stop fighting to exist and start living instead. Part 9. Satisfying conclusion. Charlotte took the truth about as well as expected. She screamed at Catherine for 20 minutes, called Mia a liar for another 10, and then stormed out threatening to never speak to any of them again. But 3 days later, she showed up at Rebecca's house, her eyes red from crying. I need to see the diary, she said to Mia. All of it. I need to know if what Mom said is true. Mia gave it to her. Charlotte read for 2 hours in silence. When she finished, she looked at Mia with something that might have been the beginning of understanding. She really did leave you out of the portrait on purpose. Yes. And I watched it happen. I was 6 years old, and I watched her send you away crying, and I didn't question it. Charlotte's voice cracked.
God, Mia.
I'm so sorry. You were a child. You didn't know. But I'm not a child now. And I've been terrible to you for years. I believed everything Mom said without question. Charlotte wiped her eyes. I don't know if we can be sisters. Real sisters. But I want to try. If you'll let me. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. 6 months later, Mia stood in the renovated carriage house behind Rebecca's brownstone, surrounded by her own art. The inheritance had been finalized. 60% of the Sterling Family Foundation, the main summer house, the book collection, and a settlement from Catherine's portion of the senator's estate. All told, nearly $8 million. Mia had used $2 million to buy and renovate the carriage house, transforming it into a live-work art studio. She'd enrolled in the fine arts program she'd dreamed about since high school. And she'd started painting again, really painting for the first time in 8 years. The walls were covered with her work now. Large, emotional pieces that explored identity and belonging and the complicated geography of family. Her thesis show was in 3 weeks, and she was terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. A knock at the door pulled her from the canvas she was working on. Thomas entered, looking healthier than he had in months. The divorce had been finalized. He'd kept the Cambridge house and enough money to retire comfortably. He'd also started therapy, working through decades of denial and complicity. This is incredible, he said, looking around at her paintings. Mia, these are really incredible. You think so? I know so. Your grandmother would be so proud. He paused at a particular canvas, one that showed a little girl standing outside a family portrait, looking in. Is this how you felt? All those years. Every day. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I'm so sorry I let her make you invisible. You're seeing it now. That's what matters. They'd been rebuilding their relationship slowly, carefully. Weekly dinners, phone calls, the kind of normal father-daughter relationship Mia had never had. It was awkward sometimes, full of gaps and silences from years of distance. But it was real, and it was theirs. I have something for you, Thomas said. He pulled out a photograph, new, taken just last week. It showed Mia, Thomas, Rebecca, Julia, Sarah, William, and even Charlotte, all gathered in Rebecca's garden for Sunday dinner. A new family portrait, one that included everyone. I thought you might want to hang it here, Thomas said, to replace the one that left you out. Mia took the photo, her throat tight. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not curated for public consumption, but real. Messy and complicated, and full of love despite everything. Thank you, she whispered. After Thomas left, Mia stood in her studio, surrounded by art and light and possibility. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Dinner at 6. Julia made lasagna. Don't be late. Then Sarah. Bring your latest painting. I want to see it before the show. Then William. Charlotte and I are coming to your thesis show. We already bought tickets.
No arguments.
Even Charlotte. I'm bringing flowers. The expensive kind. Because you're my sister and you deserve expensive flowers.
Sister.
Charlotte had said it. Actually said it. Mia looked around her studio at the life she'd built from the ashes of the family that had rejected her. She thought about Grace's diary, about the trust fund, about the codicil that had changed everything. She thought about the little girl who'd been left out of the portrait, who'd spent 26 years believing she didn't deserve to be seen. That girl was gone now. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who demanded truth, who created beauty and claimed space and refused to be erased ever again. 6 months ago, Mia had stood in front of the Sterling family portrait feeling like a ghost. Now she had her own portraits, her own family, her own story, and it was better than any perfect picture could ever be. That evening, Mia sat at Rebecca's dining table surrounded by noise and laughter and the chaotic warmth of a family dinner. Julia was arguing with William about politics. Sarah was showing Charlotte photos from her recent gallery show. Thomas was helping Rebecca with dessert. And Mia sat in the middle of it all, feeling something she'd never quite felt before. Belonging. Not because she'd fought for it or earned it or proven she deserved it, but because they'd chosen her. And she'd chosen them back. After dinner, Rebecca pulled her aside. I have something for you too, she said. She handed Mia a small box. Inside was a locket, silver and delicate. Mia opened it. On one side was a photo of James Shepherd, the father she'd never known. On the other, a photo of Grace, the grandmother who'd saved her. Your father would have loved you so much, Rebecca said softly. I wish he'd had the chance to know you, but I'm so grateful I do. Mia hugged her, this aunt who'd become a second mother, this woman who'd opened her home and her heart without hesitation. Thank you for giving me a family, Mia whispered. You were always family, sweetheart. You just had to find your way home. 3 weeks later, Mia's thesis show opened at the university gallery. The room was packed. Thomas came with William and Charlotte. Rebecca brought Julia and Sarah, friends from her art program. Even Martin Cross attended, proud of the client who'd fought for her inheritance and used it to become who she was meant to be. The centerpiece of the show was a massive canvas titled The Missing Girl. It showed the Sterling family portrait, but reimagined. In Mia's version, she'd painted herself into the center of the frame, bold and visible and undeniable. And around the edges, she'd painted her real family, the Shepherds, reaching in to pull her out of the frame and into the light. Charlotte stood in front of it for a long time. "It's beautiful," she said finally. "And true. We did leave you out. But you found something better." "I found myself," Mia said. That night, after the gallery closed and the crowds dispersed, Mia stood alone in front of her painting. She thought about the girl who'd been abandoned at a funeral, who discovered a diary that changed her life, who'd fought against impossible odds to claim her truth. She thought about Grace's final entry, "Choose yourself." She had. And in choosing herself, she'd found everything else. Family, art, purpose, belonging. Not in the place she'd expected. Not with the people she'd thought she needed. But with home. Rebecca asked. Home. Not the Tate estate with its marble foyer and damning portrait, but Rebecca's brownstone, or her own studio, or anywhere the people who loved her gathered. "Ready," Mia said. And for the first time in her life, she truly was. Ready to live without apology. To create without fear. To belong without condition. Ready to be seen. Ready to be loved. Ready to be exactly who she was always meant to be. The girl who was left out of the family picture had finally found her frame. And it was beautiful. Mia got her inheritance, her real family, her art career, and most importantly, her sense of self-worth. Catherine faced consequences, but not complete destruction. Thomas got a chance to be a real father. And the Shepherds gave Mia the unconditional love she'd always deserved. What did you think of Mia's journey?